Welcome back to BLT 12. I'm just going to enjoy hell for a bit. But I didn't come away unscathed. I got soaked in coffee along the way. Hey everyone, this is Mikoy. Welcome back to the Spilled Coffee the BLT 12 podcast. I am joined by my consortium here.
Poker 2004 here, and what the hell's a consortium?
Look it up. Anyway, last time we covered week 7 recap and semifinals predicts, and now we move on to semifinals recap. So semifinals just happened, and oh boy, did some things happen in the most non-enthusiastic way. Some things happened. The Resort City Rufflets versus the Pillsbury Fido Boys, in which you guys started off...
Lost to a weaker team.
Well, to a weaker team. Well, you guys were, going into, I believe it was Saturday or Friday, I don't remember, but you guys were not doing
Saturday.
well. You guys were not doing well heading into the weekend. You started off with a 1-5, and then you brought it back to a tie, and then the last 2 games happened. It was a very eventful week for you guys. Definitely the more interesting of the 2 weeks that had happened, the two series that had happened, but still things happened that didn't go your way. Well, let's talk about them. First off, we have the Uber game. We have Ainsgrad versus Skimmy the God, in which this was a rematch in which Ainsgrad won again. Whoa, big surprise? I don't know. Well, first off, we saw the Kyogre freezing the Raging Bolt early on, beating it later, as it paralyzed Koraidon for dying to its Scale Shot, while Glamora poisoned the Arceus on turn 9 before dying to its Earthquake, as Koraidon was sacked to Ho-Oh, who's dodged Necrozma's Stone Edge on turn 13 and got OHKO'd by Sacred Fire as a result. Then, after it survived Zacian's Wild Charge and Whirlwinding it, Arceus lost to a Behemoth Blade there on turn 16 before Zacian Terra-Steeled and killed it after, while Arceus Fairy Terra-Fired and set up Iron Defense and Calm Mind, sweeping Skimmy's team afterwards, winning Ainsgrad this game.
While we did get lucky, it still sucks that we lost to a set that unfortunately was the Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Arceus Fairy, Terra-Fire was the last one, because, well, in that position we can't really do anything about that, can we?
Yeah, it was, as you put it, an unset.
Yes, because it is. Who uses Terra-Fire?
I mean...
Do you want to get toxic?
Do you want to get toxic? I mean, I guess you want to avoid being burned, but then again, you're an Arceus Fairy, so...
No one cares if you're burned. You can't get toxic stalled if you're this set. That's probably why they all run Terra Poison, apart from it also being a good defensive Terra type.
Also, Zacian, I guess. So you gotta be at least a blocker for that. Or Ho-Oh, which it beat. Both of them.
Again, Poison is just a good defensive Terra type, and this thing is Iron Defense, so, Poison is still usually fine regarding that.
Poison is usually better still, because, more defenses, more resistances, and just Terra-Fire. I don't know. Maybe it wants to block being burned.
See, in hindsight, I wish we didn't lose Kyogre.
Really? Oh yeah.
Because there's a Terra-Fire Arceus Fairy.
Terra-Fire. If Skimmy had the foresight to keep his Kyogre, then he would have had a fighting chance against...
I'm Terrifier most of the time. I wasn't gonna know that.
Yeah, if only. I'm talking hindsight here, but Skimmy, what can you really do when you've lost your Kyogre that early on?
Anyway, he tried to outstall the Arceus and its judgments, but well, in theory, maybe he could have. It would have been hard though.
Yeah, it was.
I think probably wouldn't have been able to. He had 4 recovers, so it might have been possible. But no, I guess Judgment was doing about 50.
It's doing a lot. It was doing a lot. So, Ainscratch still had the advantage.
Maybe sacking Koraidon and then getting some regen and recovers with Ho-Oh. Maybe? I don't think so though.
Okay.
I think it probably would have been a little too much.
Okay, well, fair enough. It was a very hard game to win at that point when you're up against that set. But, what can you really do? Alright, next up we have the OU game where Maverick Shooters lost to Stories. Putting Stories out of...
In the least skillful way possible.
In the least skillful way. Putting Stories at what? 4-0? She's unbeaten in OU. OU, in OU.
I think you mean I think you mean
4-0 in OU.
3-4?
She's 3-0 in OU?
Well, yes.
Oh, I didn't count properly. That's why. Alright, well, she's 3-0 in OU, but that's maybe her weakest win.
Only was playing it since week
7? Or 6?
Since week 6, I think.
But this was her weakest win yet, according to us. Well, here's the thing. We saw here we saw here at turn 1 where the Darkrai speed tie happened, and Mavs lost to Stories' Focus Blast Darkrai, which actually hit and killed it. And
Mav was gonna do the same thing with his Darkrai, but oh well, some people are lucky and bad.
Wow, bad they say. Well, Maverick got it.
Yes, bad.
Well,
to have almost lost this with a matchup as excellent as this is actually pretty impressive.
So, Maverick did get some luck in his favor, defeating that Darkrai with a crit Ivy Cudgel at turn 3.
You think that mattered? You thought that was luck?
He still got something. He's still got something going for him in his favor.
Big boy, there's no way that mattered. That's a Darkrai.
Yeah, I know it's frail. I know Ogerpon can beat Darkrai handily, but still.
And it only had 61%. I'm pretty sure that was always killing.
Well, still, it was good. It was still good for friggin', it was still good that Ogerpon, man. He got at least a kill. So...
Not to luck, though.
Ninetales then sets up the Aurora Veil, leading to Gliscor, setting up with the Swords Dance and the Agility on turn 13. Then it warred with Zamazenta for a while until Hatrin was brought in to kill the Iron Moth at turn 25 after tanking its Sludge Wave. Well, it was brought in at turn 20 against the Zamazenta to take in Lando's hits, and then boom. Just surviving a Sludge Wave from...
Yeah, you made it sound like Story switched it into an Iron Moth, which would have been terrible.
Oh, here's the thingamajig that really decided it. It's the Cerulege who sets up with the bulk up and the Terrabug against the Ogre Pawn. You know, killing it with a Shadow Sneak after one Bitter Blade, beating it at turn 30. Hatrin then Healing Wished against Gliscor to heal the Zamazenta, who lost speed ties to Story Zamazenta, leading to the kill at turn 42, killing Lando afterwards to win Stories this game.
The discussion was that we should have brought in Zamazenta first in theory, but it was sleeping. But it probably still wins versus the Gliscor even then, because
it's faster.
It's all that, and it's only taking one turn of sleep since it already used one turn.
True. Could have been brought in much sooner than outstall the Zamazenta, setting up all those iron defenses and then body pressing after.
And in theory, maybe the Landris could have been sacked at the second facade, because I understand how Mav played, but we did need that Hatterene. We needed that Hatterene for the Zamazenta.
Yeah, could have probably preserved it. It would take at least a couple of body presses with that, even with iron defense boost. So it could have been possible.
Although even more questionable, why did Stories go for Facade a second time even after the Rocky Helmet happened?
Who really knows? Maybe she was chanting it.
You have Earthquake, don't you?
She was chanting for the 140 move instead of the reliable 100 base move that is actually stab.
Yeah, but if you're gonna, it's neither of them kills. Just go for the one that doesn't damage you.
Well, she wanted bigger damage. Unless
she was expecting Lando switching in sack or something.
Maybe, but
but even then, it doesn't actually hurt you to Earthquake there.
Yeah, could have been bad. All right.
Anyways, did you actually comment on the Lander set, or you just kind of completely skipped over how Cerulege died?
Custapberry, that's right. Custapberry Lando.
I'm wondering if it would have been better to, wait, were we on Core Pond? We might not have been.
You were Trailblaze knockoff Ivy Cudgel Ogre Pawn. If I didn't know any better, this would have been an Assault Vest Ogre Pawn, but go on.
Okay, you're making quite a few mistakes today, mister.
If I didn't know any better, I said.
Yeah, because that's physically impossible, right?
I know, but, good on... No. Poor Mav. Good on Stories, I guess, for preserving the Zamazenta.
I feel like I get why, but considering the Zamazenta on Story side was faster, I feel like Mav should have instead of attacking, maybe set up more with his own, because you don't really want to be outpaced more than you already are, right?
It's either he's banking on the crit, which I don't know if that was his intention, or
that was what he was doing.
He was banking on the crit.
That was what he was doing, but did he have to, is the question. Could he not have just set up since he was already ahead?
I don't know. know, maybe it was more important to him to...
And then it would have been, like, look, I get body pressing at least one of those times, but once you see now that it's faster, I think you have to set up, like, as much as possible now. And then, you know, bank on, and then bank on the crit.
When it actually matters. Alright. That's fair. You know, that's a fair assumption. Still, very unfortunate.
Though again, Mav played that really well, all things considered. Because, like, the matchup was awful, and he got a pretty nasty start.
Like, what would have happened if that Darkrai, if he got the first turn Darkrai?
Oh, he probably would have won. Because he would have been ahead on momentum, and it probably wouldn't have come down to that endgame.
Next off, we have the other OU game, Chico's versus Tenebricite. And man, I should have believed Chico's. You told me to believe him.
Yeah, he was on some demon time, bro. You don't even know. No way. You could have known. You're in our server, you can see.
Yeah, I could have known that he was on D. I didn't know what demon time he specifically meant, but now you know, semantics, I guess. But hey,
it means he's prepping like crazy.
He's determined. He's a determined one, that Chico's fella is, and you know what? His hard work eventually paid off in a good way, because he was one of the factors that got you into this tying position, wasn't it? Yeah, he said not over for rough.
Yes.
He was one of the guys. So again, well done to Chico's for this one, and let's review his game, shall we? All right. So what happened? First of all, he got a good matchup. I'd say his matchup was pretty good.
I wouldn't know, but I think you're right, well, that comes from excellent prep.
Excellent prep, she says. Alright, so things happen first and foremost, starting off with Alamomola poisoning the Moltres after it was done Wheezing poisoned the Moltres, not Alamomola. Moltres actually burned Alamomola before Wheezing got to poison it.
The Will-O-Wisp Wheezing, not that it mattered though.
Well, burned the Alamomola as Corviknight was also burned by that Moltres. Tornadus Terraflying though, and lost to a Kyurem after boosting up its Nasty Plot and trying to do some Bleak Wind Storm damage, only to lose to Kyurem on turn 17.
Yeah, an Assault Vest Kyurem.
An Assault Vest Kyurem? That's interesting.
Yeah. That thing does not live if it's not Assault Vest, Mikoi.
That's interesting. I've never seen Kyurem carry... I usually think it's boots or loaded dice, but AV Kyurem is a thing, apparently.
Bro, Mikoi, it's usually boots, loaded dice, leftovers, specs, scarf.
Is AV gonna be the first thing that you think of when you see Kyurem?
No.
Good. Because that's exactly my reaction.
That's because it's not real.
It's not real. Alright. Tinglu killed the Kyurem shortly after by the earthquake. Then Pecharunt Terradark against Darkrai's substitute, leading to Tinglu eventually killing Deoxys after it tanked its Ice Beam.
Thankfully, it was not Focus Blast, because that might have been a different game if it was.
Yeah, you would have been screwed. So,
Thankfully, it wasn't Life Orb either.
So Darkrai burned the King Gambit, allowing Alomomola to kill the Moltres on turn 37, as Pecharunt fused Foul Play to no avail, while Corviknight defeated the Iron Treads and King Gambit with Body Press, Weezing finishing off the Pecharunt for the win. The Chicos win.
Yeah, I really wonder what the Terra type on King Gambit was now, because, like, we were thinking if it's Terra Fire King Gambit, we probably straight up lose.
Or Terra Flying King Gambit.
No, Terra Fire.
Oh, because blocking of the Will-O-Wisp. Right.
Yes.
Alright. Well,
we'd still burn it if it was Terra Flying. Are you kidding?
Yeah, but yeah, if it would have been Terrifier, you would have been screwed. But hey, it was a good shout that you got to burn the King Gambit, preventing it from getting too much damage off, and boom, everything just kind of worked according to Chico's plan.
Yeah, once the Pecharunt Terra Darked, Body Press hit everything. Can't say I don't think that was a terribly good idea.
He kind of screwed himself, yes. 10% did kind of screw himself
I don't know what Terra his King Gambit was, but if it was fire, then, oh boy, Terra Darking was not right.
Yeah, if it was, then boom. It may have screwed 10% in the long run, Terraing the Pecharunt.
Also, not gonna lie, our Darkrai set is funny.
Substitute Will-O-Wisp. It's bulky Darkrai.
And Hex.
It's bulky Darkrai.
Yes.
It's bulky.
With Wisp and Hex.
With attack investment. I'm kidding. So
I would actually need to let me look at the team. Let's see.
It's moves Darkrai. Wow, that's funny.
It's leftovers with Nasty Plot, Hex, Substitute, Will-O-Wisp.
That's really funny. Hex is your attacking move.
Yes, how funny. We stole Pecharunt's Hex.
Alright, well...
Because it's funny to me that Pecharunt, which often runs Hex, did not have Hex when half or maybe more of our mons were burned.
Oh, well... Could have used your Hex instead.
So, we didn't care about the burns at all!
Yeah, Weezing Galar was able to take him out with Dazzling Gleam, or Tinglu with Earthquake, and then let the burn. Strange Stream. That's what it is. A Strange Steam. Alright.
Strange Steam, yes, thank you.
Alright, next up we have Yu-Yu. Piyush versus Dunox to Electric Boogaloo. Or as we like to call it, the second coming of Suck. What happened?
You wanna know what happened?
What happened?
I'll tell you what happened.
Well, alright, let's go through the game before you let out your unfiltered rage. So...
Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you after you recap it, I guess.
So, after both set up the hazards, we saw the Deoxys remove the items as Latios was trapped by the Magma Storm, being burned and missing Draco Meteor on turn 14. That was the first instance of the...
That was literally the game-losing turn, not gonna lie.
The Draco miss on the Heatran, and Latios died to the Magma Storm. And then, we saw the very next turn, we saw the Excadrill rapid spin the hazards before being burned and then dying shortly after. Then, we saw the Clodsire, who consistently walled the Toxapex, as Zarude bulked up before being whirlwinded by Skarmory on turn 36, who lost to Deoxys as Toxapex poisoned the Zarude, who killed the Heatran before dying to Piyush's own Zarude on turn 42, who Terra Electric before losing to Keldeo, and Piyush shortly forfeited.
I'm no expert on PU. Why is it Electric? For Tornadus, maybe?
Probably.
Probably.
Anyway, let out your rage.
So I'm pretty sure we just straight up won if Draco Meteor hit.
Really?
Yes. Piyush said so, and I trust his word.
Unfortunately...
So I'm gonna guess that implies Draco Meteor killed.
I think Draco Meteor would have killed. It is a pretty low Heatran.
And Draco Meteor pretty strong.
But it missed. Very crucially.
Yes!
Very crucially.
And I still disagree with, like, the rapid spinning in front of a Heatran that wants to die anyway, but I understand Piyush didn't exactly have much leeway here.
Yeah, who would have taken the lava plume? And, well, what could he have done differently?
He could have straight up killed the Heatran.
With Earthquake?
I mean, he's not gonna switch out Excadrill. Are you crazy? That's not what I meant by not having leeway.
Okay. What did you mean then?
The fact that he damn near lost the game from that miss, and now no longer has any room to fall behind on momentum.
And that's unfortunate, considering you saw the Clodsire straight up walling Toxapex. It couldn't even do surf damage.
Well, that game was lost by that point.
Everything else. Yep, Piyush just kind of lost momentum, all things considered, and then boom.
Sarud was the last hope, but, well, obviously,
There's
didn't work.
There's a Keldeo.
And it was like a sliver of hope anyway. It wasn't really doable.
Alright. Well, it's not the rage I was expecting, but it was pretty bad. It wasn't as bad as last time, but, if it just hit and he could have won, then you guys would have tied.
Or if perhaps Mav, Darkrai didn't happen to lose a 50-50 at turn 1, maybe then we would have tied too.
A lot of possibilities for tying from both of your high tiers. But alas, here we are in the future. Alright, next.
Alas, sometimes the weaker players win.
Wow. Alright, RU. We saw the Franklin lose to Esteban, which I was surprised at first until I've learned the fact that Esteban apparently is doing crazy good at RU.
I wonder how good currently.
I wonder also how good currently, but it was doing pretty well up to when the game was played, and the game was akin to it. So, we saw here that the slow... So, here we saw the Slowbro and the Registeel chipped early as Umbreon was O-code at turn 6. Ars even mentioned that, for the first 6 turns he kind of did play ass.
Yes. Yep.
And it was very evident.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it was pretty evident when you saw the game. Like, he was getting his
I think it was evident by the one-shotting of Umbreon.
Well, we got certain hints at first. First of all, with the sending out Registeel against a flamethrower-ing Goodra, or a U-turning Zapdos against an Umbreon. Like, there were hints there, but it didn't really come into effect until we saw the Umbreon getting O-code by the Zapdos. And then we saw the Registeel being sacked to Goodra Hisui on turn 9. Then Slowbro was...
I don't think that was intentional.
Then, the Slowbro was paralyzed by Abungus' stun spore and tricked by Gardevoir on turn 14. Then we saw the Noivern was then paralyzed, while Mamoswine knocked off Talonflame's heavy duty boots. However, on turn 24, it missed Icicle Crash, leading to losing to Gardevoir, who crit killed Entei the next turn. Ars eventually forfeited. Any other thoughts?
Well, no, because Ars did not play this one well. And, well, Esteban did.
Esteban played it very, very well. And, no discredit to Ars 9 at all, but Esteban really could have had a 6-0 if he...
Okay, but also, Arsenine's chances were basically taken and then squashed on the pavement with that miss and the crit in the final turns.
Yeah, he got his ass handed to him.
Like, wow, as soon as I'm thinking, hold up, I think Entei can still win. Nope.
Gets critted. Gets critted and lost. Oh well. But yeah. Esteban, well done. Hopefully we see more of that in your next game, but we'll see what happens. Next up is NU. Maybe I should have believed in him more than, we probably should. Didn't he beat him last time too? Or no? He lost to him. Yeah, he lost to him. Acid versus...
The matchup wasn't great last time, if I remember right.
Well, this one...
But that's because he was facing Shengineer, and yeah.
It's Shengineer. It's motherfucking Shengineer. Well, the matchup is a little bit better here, you would argue. Like a little bit.
Yeah, the matchup was very good here.
Alright. And we see Acid versus Shengineer Part 2, in which Acid won. Giving Shengineer his second loss, I think. Alright, so we saw both set up the rocks as Flygon killed Diancie on turn 10 with a nasty earthquake. Then Overquill was set up very well. The Swords Dance and the Throat Chop did very well to beat Sandslash-Alola and Flygon.
Yeah, what happened there is that Shengineer incorrectly predicted that we would switch to our Flygon, so instead we stayed in. We killed it.
Yeah, Flygon was going for a scale shot. But I'm surprised Overquill can time.
I actually find it funny how both Shen and Acid used choice scale shot Flygon.
And it worked.
Instead of like loaded dice, because if you'll notice, scale shot only hit like what?
Two times. Yeah, it only hit twice.
We were using banded Flygon, and ours had scale shot as well.
So the effectively it won, and Overquill tanked it and won. So Houndstone killed it, eventually dying to the Flygon on turn 18. Then we saw the Dunsparce getting to set up and Calm Mind and Terra Poisoning against the Scrafty, who was setting up Bulk Up, but it chipped Monkey Dory pretty hard. Then on turn 35, we saw...
Not gonna lie, once we had one Calm Mind up, I think we just should have started Boom Bursting.
You think so? You think Scrafty would just, lose to the Dunsparce by Boom Bursting?
Yeah. Like, you just start Boom Bursting.
Alright.
I mean, Boom Bursting the next turn ended up being fine.
Alright.
But we were like, you don't need to switch it out. You could just Boom Burst again. I guess he didn't want to risk the crit.
Yeah, he didn't want to risk the crit. Maybe.
And to be fair, that's valid. because that could actually be bad if your Dunsparce gets crit, that could be pretty bad.
Yeah.
And you could very well just lose to Terra Scrafty.
So, nice preserving of the Dunsparce there. So, and then we saw the Scrafty, then Terra Poisoned on turn 35. But lost to Flygon's Earthquake as Kilowattrel finished off the
Okay, I think turn 30, we were also like, Boom Burst! Boom Burst!
You were wanting
Just
to kill.
Boom Burst!
You were wanting to kill the Monkey Dory hard with Boom Burst and then leaving Scrafty alone.
Well, no, we weren't telling him to Boom Burst once it, actually, no, I think we might have been saying, Boom Burst! Because, like,
You were screaming.
It tricked it was trying to trick the Dunsparce. So imagine if we Boom Bursted, right?
Yeah, if you Boom Bursted, then you would have outsped your damn Flygon. Eventually.
What Flygon?
Or Scrafty, excuse me. And yeah, that would have been pretty good for you. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, like, not that it really mattered, though, because, did you mention how the game ended, by chance?
The Kilowattrel came in and crit killed the Monkey Dory with the Thunderbolt to win us in this game.
And before that?
Flygon killed the Scrafty, Monkey Dory used Psychic and killed Flygon, what?
I see you're not mentioning the fact that Flygon hard switched in on Scrappy's Drain Punch and lived.
Turn 36. Alright, yeah, it was a very risky ass thing living on 1% there, Flaggy.
I think he was, I don't know, he might have just been, he was either opting to switch into a knockoff, or he was actually just sacking it, I don't know. But
He was probably sacking
like,
it from the looks of things.
I don't know about that. Hard to say, but like,
It's interesting.
you want to know something?
What?
That was a roll. That was, in fact, the lowest roll, I think.
Ouch! Engineer got fucked by a roll? Yikes.
Oh no, he got totally fucked by this matchup.
Oh, definitely the matchup didn't help, but still.
He was completely lost, whether he got the roll or not.
Yeah, he was still lost by that
point.
Yeah, he was still a lot of lost by that point, but, you know, he still got fucked by the lowest roll. Still had to mention that. Out of spot. Alright, so that's your game. So well done, Acid, at least getting one win before you guys eventually ran off to the sunset. So well done.
He prepped well. He prepped very well.
And yeah,
and played
Acid.
Well too.
Yeah, Acid consistently playing well this whole tour. You gotta give props to him. Alright, next up is
the underrated GOAT.
Next up is PU, where it's finally, if Wesh Papillon deserves a W at this point, it was now, and Wesh Papillon earned that W against Zuzu Wawa.
He played this so well.
He played this very, very well. Alright, so first off, we saw the Palmot knocked off Sandaconda's item on turn 8. Then Oko Typhlosion with the nasty double shock.
I understand he might have been predicting a close combat, but that's still risky as hell, considering the thing that was in previously was a melodic, so, like, I mean, nothing really is wrong with going for double shock, right?
Yeah, you know, he was still sitting pretty. The worst thing he could have done was probably got switched in by on a Sandaconda, but, you know, I guess he was risking it for the close combat, but, yeah.
And besides, was that like Scarf Typhlosion or something for it to have been hard switched on potential close combat?
Probably.
Because otherwise that's a bit of a weird thing to do.
Probably, but Milotic would still come in later and then just tank its eruptions if it had any. So anyway, Milotic then warred, both Milotics then warred a little bit. Persian Alola then paralyzed Gudra Hisui. Not Gudra Hisui. That would have been wild if we brought Gudra Hisui in PU. But it's normal as Gudra in turn 25, where we saw the paralysis happen, before dying to a crit Draco Meteor from the Gudra.
I wonder if that mattered.
Probably not, to be honest. It's Gudra.
Like, we're using Specs Gudra here.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't matter.
I mean, I don't know what that version's running, but let's see.
I am 100.
What team was it that we were using? No, not this.
Told you. So.
Unless it was like a version that was bulky and special defense for some reason. I don't think it mattered yet.
Who's running that? A madman.
I don't know. They ran Terrifier Arceus Fairy earlier in the week.
And you call that an unset. And
Assault Vescurum. They're clearly not totally conventional here, but like I guess I wouldn't expect anything too unconventional from Susawawa because he probably just got a team pass.
So, perhaps Melodic. Now you got me saying the wrong pronunciation. It's Milotic.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Paps Milotic survived Anaconda's earthquake. Got burned once before resting, but then it helped chip the Zuzuwawa's Milotic before finishing it off with Palmot on turn 48. Then we saw the Palmot sacked to Decidueye Hisui after it killed Milotic, who flinched Articuno Galar but couldn't kill it. Then lost to its air slashes before it finished off the Sandaconda for Pap to win. Good on you. Well, it also killed Espeon, but, after one Calm Mind, but it's Articuno Galar, it really just...
And it's at +6,
yeah,
right?
It just kills. It just kills. Okay?
Also, not that I think it mattered, but did Susawawa get any burns from Scald? Like, any at all?
Don't think so. I really don't think so. I think Pop only got the burns from Milotic Scald.
Yeah, because, I was going through the game just earlier, and I'm like, damn, he's using a lot of Scalds with no burns. That's 6 Scalds at least with no burns so far.
Scald's very unreliable.
I don't think he ended up getting any.
Apparently, Scald has become unreliable, especially if you're running a Milotic.
Let's see. No Scald burn.
Hot damn. Anyway, move on now to LC. Taking note.
You might have used 7 Scalds without a burn or something.
Let's move on now to LC. Taking notes, kinda, versus TGA. Yikes. Well, so this game was interesting. First off, we saw the Mienfoo kill the Vullaby on turn 9. Then, Fungus put Sandshrew Alola to sleep. And Shelter killed the Mudbray on turn 16 as Diglett.
Okay, so you're skipping over the bad roar play.
The bad roar play? You mean the high jump kick turned to roar?
Yeah, because Earthquake was free.
Okay. Then yeah, the Shelter crit killed the Mudbray. Well, not crit killed, it just killed it. Diglett.
Yeah. And this is why I'm saying, Earthquake was free, because, you two-shot the Mienfoo, or something else comes in and takes a nasty hit. There's no real downside to Earthquaking. Roar was bad because, like, obviously he had no way of knowing it would bring in Shelter, but, well, it brought in Shelter, unluckily for him, and that didn't work out well.
Unfortunate. Then we saw Diglett kill the Sandshrew Lola before
was fine.
Before losing to Minfu's high jump kick, as Chinchou then crit and killed Fungus with the Hydro Pump.
No, it crit then killed.
I said crit then killed, not crit killed.
No, you said crit and killed.
Oh, crit then killed. Alright. Then we saw the Fungus put Mudbray to sleep as Torchic Terragrassed to Oko the Chinchou on turn 30 before burning Minfu as Fungus.
Oh, the amount of people in game discussion being like, Terra the Chinchou! Terra the Chinchou now!
He didn't Terra the Chinchou now, instead...
We were Terraflying Chinchou.
Oh.
So, that's why we wanted to Terra the Chinchou.
Oh, and, man.
Yeah. Apparently some peeps in the game discussion somehow knew the Torchic was Terragrass.
Oh, how did they know?
I don't know. Someone said streets are saying it's Terragrass Torchic.
Oh.
I don't know what streets they're talking about, but, well, that's not public information to TGA, obviously.
So take it to the streets. The Torchic streets, apparently, as, Chinchou eventually died. Then burned the Minfu as Fungus came back to Terra Water, but it and Minfu eventually lost to Terra Blast, winning for... Taking notes, kinda.
See, TGA was smart not to Terra Chinchou on the Protect turn, but then he should have Terra'd it the next turn. Here he should have probably done the same thing with Fungus, but, obviously that would take quite a bit of insight.
Yep.
You have to predict that Taking Notes kinda is going to try to scout your Terra, and, well, you can't quite always predict your opponent is going to scout something you're going to do, can you?
Nope, you cannot. That's pretty bad.
So, yeah, ideally he doesn't Terra on the Protect, and then Terra's the turn after, but even then it's an uphill battle.
Mm-hmm.
Because, then the Fungus doesn't resist the Minfu anymore,
mm-hmm.
And it's Eviolite-less and doesn't resist. Yeah, that's kind of a recipe for disaster.
It was overall a bad experience. TGA literally just said fuck this tier after he lost. So, yeah. You agree. You agree.
The Chinchou did make sense because even if he didn't know Torchic was Terragrass, it's always either grass or ground.
It is always either grass or ground.
So either way, terraing is good.
Yep, I agree. Alright, next up
Although it does actually make you weaker to Shelter, so that's a downside.
Well, Shelter already died beforehand, so yeah.
No, it didn't.
Oh, it's still there, right.
Shelter literally did not die in this game.
Right. It was preserved. Anyway, moving on now to Monotype. If there was ever a time Rio Vidal would never get a win, he did against Royal Reloaded. Again, I guess. Twice?
What? What?
Didn't he beat him the last time they fought?
No.
Oh, that's right. He got fucked over.
He got burned.
He got burned by the Azumarill. Right.
Not by the...
The Moltres burned the Azumarill. That's right. Alright. So, there was no Flame Body to be seen here. We have Monotype.
Just a slightly unfavorable matchup.
We have Monotype. Real Vidal versus Royal Reloaded. Dark versus Dragon. It was kind of unfavorable, but Rio Vidal showing why he is Rio Vidal in monotype.
This replay is funny to watch in hindsight because Royal Reloaded says, "Oh, I'm green again," but is purple.
Alright. So, first off, we have both setting up the rocks. While Latias used the Luring Voice to beat Meowscarada on turn 7, and Samurott survived it after to beat Roaring Moon with Ceaseless Edge.
Not gonna lie, it always surprises me how much Alluring Voice does, but then I remember it's like 80 BP or something.
It's 80 base power. It's not that crazy. It's reliable.
Yeah, and apparently this is Expert Belt Latias.
Expert Belt Latias. That is a interesting set. So, before eventually it died to Archaludon on turn 12, Latias then came back to freeze the Mandibuzz on turn 23 before killing it. So luck was in Rio Vidal's favor.
I mean, we lost a status last time. I think it's only right.
Tit for tat. So turn 28, we saw the Raging Bolt miss the Draco Meteor. But
so you see, it can't be Rio Vidal without getting a little unlucky.
It definitely is a Rio Vidal game if he gets fucked over at least once. So he got crit killed by the
thing. That's the second Draco of our series to miss.
So he got crit killed.
Maybe the first. This might have been played. I don't recall what game was played first.
So I
think this one was.
So it got crit.
Yeah.
So it was crit killed by Tinglu's Earthquake after it missed its Draco Meteor, as it was.
I doubt the crit mattered.
So the sack then it was sacked to Dragonite, who killed Greninja while Latias killed the Hoopa to win Rio Vidal this game. Hey, if you're gonna end off with a win, you might as well end it with Latias.
Yep, I guess.
Alright, next up we have doubles. Again, I probably should have believed in it more, but at the time...
To be fair, this game was really close.
At the time you guys were at 1-5, and I didn't think it was possible. So, Luisin...
You thought 1-5 would get our spirits down.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
No, if anything, it encouraged those who had yet to play to prep harder and play better.
And the first of them was evident here, starting off with doubles, at least for Saturday. It was Luisin versus Sea Life. So, both Glamora and Xianpao were sashed, meaning that they were brought down to sash level, as the latter chipped Mons before dying to Gouging Fire on turn 5 from the Breaking Swipe, while Ogerpon killed Glamora and Dragonite Terranormal as Tornadus Terra Ghost to block its E-Speed attempt on turn 7 and critted Gouging Fire and killed by Goldango as a result. Then, after Goldango and Tornadus died, we saw the Iron Hands and the Ogerpon basically clutch it out. They clutched it out despite being...
You're not mentioning the Bleakwind miss that almost put us in a bad situation?
Yeah, you missed the Bleakwind Storm on the Rillaboom on turn 9.
That Rillaboom would have been dead if that didn't miss. Which, unfortunately, resulted in our Tornadus getting put down to Sash, which sucks.
And yeah, it got Grassy Glide killed as a result by the monkey. And then, we saw the Iron Hands and Ogerpon after losing the 3-2 position and getting toxic. They clutched it. They basically clutched this win by beating Rillaboom. Then Dragonite and Qianpao double targeted to beat the Iron Hands. Ogerpon, though, survived Icicle Crash to kill the Qianpao and won for, or not Icicle Crash, Ice Spinner to beat the Qianpao and win Luis in this game.
Ice Spinner to beat the Qianpao?
It survived Qianpao's Ice Spinner.
Yes, the Ogerpon did.
Yes, the Ogerpon did. Which was clutch.
Yeah, thankfully we didn't get any more unlucky than the Bleakwood miss, because that Ice Spinner had a shot at killing.
Yeah. Might have been a roll.
Yes, it was a roll. Although it was more favored for Luisin than Sea Life, there was still a decent chance, like a 37.5% chance to kill.
Ooh, that was a chance. I mean, sure, count.
That's actually that's a greater chance than Bleakwood missing, I think.
Wow.
Well, actually in doubles, I don't know. I mean, that's 2 targets with a 20% chance to miss for both of them, so.
But, yeah, good job to Luisin for pulling off a clutch win. What was not...
And let me tell you, all those horn leeches, damn, those were great, because it allowed Ogerpon to have enough health to tank that Ice Spinner.
Yes, it was. It was a very clutch situation that, Ogerpon was able to hang on to a sliver of its health.
Luisin said, phew, after the game. I could not agree more.
He clutched it. He definitely clutched it.
That was a scary end game.
What was not clutch, though, was the Ran series. MG versus Lichen. Ended in 2. So, game 1, we saw the Araquanid set up the webs before dying to Chinchino, as Volbeat paralyzed Slacking on turn 12, who killed Metagross, while both Cloyster and Minior tried cell smashing to lose their white herbs to no avail, as the former was paralyzed by Galvantula's Thunder on turn 22 before dying to Jumpluff. Then we saw the Terra Ground Minior shell smash again, killing Slacking before dying to Mesprit on turn 29, as Chinchino missed the tail slap before getting paralyzed and OHKO'd by Passimian, who killed Greedent at the end for Lichen to win.
I have to wonder, does Galvantula run Sticky Web itself in brands?
I would think so.
Also, I think game could have been won if we managed to paralyze the Jumpluff, but alas.
But alas, it wasn't meant to be. In the end, Minior was dealing a lot of damage. Alright, then we saw game 2.
I sort of wish there were times where we predicted a little better, like, I get T-waving sometimes, but, I felt like sometimes Slacking switch-ins were obvious. Though I do wish we kept Metagross. I get why we didn't, but I do wish we kept it.
Alright, so game 2, we saw Politoed defeat Glaceon on turn 3.
Immediate bad matchup.
Then we saw Mudsdale defeat Reuniclus before dying to Deoxys on turn 14, as Terrakion killed the Luxray before dying to Veluza on turn 17, while Swalot, who was apparently...
Not gonna lie, Psycho Boost did not very much
against Luxray. Yeah. I'm surprised Luxray can tank that.
Yeah, like, that's a Psycho Boost from...
Is that a... No, that's not Assault Vest. That's Flame Orb.
Yeah, it's not Assault Vest.
It would be like, really funny if it was.
I saw it do that much. I'm like, dang. But then it's Flame Orb. I'm like, it just took that well then.
Alright, well, Swalot then became sort of the MVP of this game because it Terra Grounded, it was able to kill Garganackle before dying to Halucha, who was then paralyzed by Kilowattrel, killing it later for Lichen to win.
I think before the earthquake on turn 20, maybe we should have maybe on that turn we should have recovered.
You would have stalled out Swalot?
I don't know about stalled out, but we wouldn't have died to Terra next turn.
I guess.
Speaking of which, I wonder what our Terra type for Garganical here was.
Probably Rock.
Because I feel like Garganical can... What?
Probably Rock.
No.
I don't know what it runs, Ghost. I don't know what it runs, Ghost.
Well.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Help doesn't really tell me.
Either. But, you know, could have been a potential preserver, Garganackle is. But, hey. Also, the Halucha was unfortunate. It didn't get anything going for it. Got paralyzed.
Yes, because unfortunately the last mon was a freaking Kilowattrel.
Mm-hmm.
This was a bad matchup.
Well, speaking of, we have to talk about national decks. Tempo de Angoria versus Silu.
There's only one mistake in this game I can think of. Otherwise, it was played beautifully.
So, both set up rocks. Then Landorus poisoned the Great Tusk on turn 10. As Lopunny took out the Ferrothorn, while Zapdos stalled out to let Great Tusk die to poison on turn 19, while Blacephalon was paralyzed, then killed by Terrapagos.
Oh yeah, we probably could have just Heat Waved on turn 6 with Zapdos.
Against the Ferrothorn?
Yes.
That's fair. You know, that's fair. But, hey.
Because Silu doesn't really have a proper Zapdos switch in.
Oh yeah, he really doesn't. Except for me.
Yeah.
Even Great Tusk.
I'm not gonna lie, in Tempo Shoes I probably would have both switched there too.
He still played that pretty well. And...
Oh yeah, I was just reminded of Saro's comment on this game.
What was it?
Mid versus mid, but lives in LA.
Oh yeah. I don't get it.
What do you not get?
Why are these two mid players and, you know, doesn't mind the fact that they both live in LA, but why? Why did they call out? But still.
I wasn't calling either of them mid, but you pointed out the joke I was gonna say.
I know, right? They're both...
The fact that if he wanted to tell this joke properly, it would be mid but lives in LA versus mid but lives in the other LA.
LAception. Alright, then...
AKA Latin America versus Los Angeles.
the LAception. Alright, then... And then, after Blacephalon died to an Earth Power thingy, Terapagos. Then came Tapu Fini, who set up the Calm Mind, killing Landorus at turn 31.
Okay, it's around here that I feel Tempo made his only real mistake that
Which turn?
could have possibly made a difference, but I'm not even sure.
Which turn?
23, or 22, I guess? Yeah.
The Terapagos Earth Power?
Terapagos coming in instead of Kyurem.
Oh. Why?
Yeah. Because that way, Phoebe doesn't have as easy of a time setting up.
You think it was just gonna bolster up freeze dries, is trying to freeze this Fini, making it so even harder.
Phoebe doesn't really get as easy of an opportunity to set up as it does versus the Terapagos. Especially considering we, rapid spun, which may have been a little greedy. But again, I think Kyurem, it was more ideal to go Kyurem to kill the Blacephalon than Terapagos. But in that case, it's possible that Tapu Lele would have come in instead of Fini, and then that would also be a problem.
I mean, Kyurem is still free to just freeze dry either of these mons.
Well, yeah, but what I mean is Kyurem would be out. Silu has an option of what he wants to go into. He probably would have gone into Tapu Lele. We're not staying in on that, Mikoi.
Yeah, Slowking would have handled them both.
I kinda doubt that.
He was using Slowking a lot, but then again, Fini was just the problem. As you saw that evident.
Lele gets the Calm Mind off. If it's Psyshock, then that poor Slowking ain't gonna be doing anything.
Yeah. And, Tapu Fini just kind of walled a lot of the attacks afterwards.
Especially because it was low at the time.
It was low, and, Tapu Fini did, got to set up the Calm Minds and swept both Slowking and Kyurem. And
actually crazy how he brought both Calm Mind Lele and Calm Mind Fini.
It just wants to Calm Mind. He just wants to get that setup damage work.
Yeah, but it's actually interesting. Tempo's matchup isn't terribly good here.
It's not. It's really not.
Like, first thing I saw, what was being talked about in the game chat was that Blacephalon is terrifying.
Terrifying?
Terrifying.
Oh, terrifying. I thought you said terrifying. I'm like, what?
There's no Terra in this meta.
Yeah, I know. But yeah.
Although luckily it wasn't as scary as we at first thought because it was scarfed.
Okay. Never mind.
But Fini was still terrifying. Lele was still scary. Not great, unfortunately.
It was not a great matchup.
Tempo had to play very well to even get to the point that he was at.
He played to the best of his abilities, I thought.
I mean, it's clear he played this very well, right?
Yes, it was. It was very, very evident that he was, trying to at least give the momentum to his side. There's a lot more.
You don't give yourself momentum, you take it. You make it.
And you flake it. So, Silu won, just cementing the Fido boys as our first finalist in BLT 12.
Second.
Oh yeah, second, because the first one was already decided. The first one was already decided like eons ago by the time. Moving on now to the second matchup.
And by eons ago, you mean a few hours earlier.
It was practically eons in Showdown years. So, we saw the Primal Power Pangoros.
Yes, in Showdown hours.
So, we saw the Primal Power Pangoros beat Curb Stomp. Probably bodied Not many adjectives can describe the total ass whooping that the Jirachis took against the Goros.
You say not many adjectives, yet you just used four.
I used 4 because it was mollywop. It was a steady mollywop by the Goros.
And that's another.
By the Goros against the Jirachis. So first off, we have.
Also, aren't these verbs?
Adjectives is a verb. Look at the adjective. Play. That's a reference. Anyway, let's kick it off with Ubers. Vidiot versus Ice Master. First off, we have Gliscor taunting the Tinglu, knocking off its item on turn 5 as Arceus Water burned the Arceus on turn 22, so not a lot of things happened for a while until we saw that burn. Stinglu then continuously taunted until it died 2 hazards on turn 58. It was kind of a long game, as you could tell, and nothing really happens in the first couple of turns, and then turn 58 happens, and then we saw a kill. Then, Gliscor then managed to knock off Fluttermane's item. Then it warred with Blissey on Calm Mind Wars for a while until Psyshock was revealed to kill Blissey on turn 65, which was really funny.
See, there's gonna be another special attacker in this set using Psyshock, and it's not gonna work very well. This is 7U992 showing how you use it proper.
And properly he did. After that, Fluttermane died to a sandstorm. Then Ho-Oh killed Gliscor on turn 80 and blocked Arceus' Will-O-Wisp attempts until whirlwinding it out on turn 94 and killing it later, defeating Ice's own Ho-Oh on turn 101 before dying to Dondozo as Terra Electric Koraidon finished off it and Tyranitar for the win for Vidiot. Any thoughts?
No, because it makes me sleepy.
It's a blurring, potting 108 turn game.
Oh, wait, actually, I do have one thought.
What thought?
The fact that, Sacred Fire from Ice Master's Ho-Oh did, 56 to, Vidiot's, Necrozma Dusk main?
It's a bulky one.
That was in Sun, bro.
That's a bulky one.
That means it probably only did 37 outside of Sun.
It's a bulky one. It's a bulky Necrozma. What do you expect?
Yeah, but that's a Sacred Fire from a Ho-Oh. And it's super effective.
Under Sun.
That's really bulky.
There's a lot of defense investment, okay? There was just a lot of defense investment there. Next up, we have the other OU shenanigans between Batty and Dougie.
I told you he'd win this rematch.
Well, here's the thing. We saw Batty setting up the hazards. Then Heatran Terra Ghosted on turn 15, blocking the Darkrai's. Well, was blocking. Maybe should have Terra'd earlier against the Focus Blasting Darkrai on turn 2, but whatever. Terra Ghosted on turn.
I think Terra Ghosted to not be let's see. Yeah. He wanted to not take super effective Earthquake. Also, he wanted to block a potential Rapid Spin.
See, could have been useful, that Terra Ghost. So, Great Tusk was then...
Yeah, it was useful.
Then we saw the Great Tusk burned by the Moltres' Flame Body, who confused Heatran with the Hurricane attempt on turn 22, while Kyurem killed the Iron Treads after surviving its Earthquake. Then, we saw the Darkrai failed to kill the Great Tusk. It survived its Psyshock before dying to its headlong
why
rush.
is he running Psyshock on Darkrai?
I don't know. Why do it on a
Like,
Great Tusk?
I'm all for running a Psychic move on Darkrai, but doesn't that just learn...
Psychic.
Sorry. But doesn't that just learn Psychic?
Yeah, it
Why
does
not
learn
just
Psychic.
run that?
Yeah, well, it does learn Psychic. Why didn't he run
Like,
Psychic?
usually the things you're gonna be hitting with Psychic moves, usually you're not gonna want to be hitting them with that because they tend to be physically bulky. Like there's Zamazenta, there's Great Tusk. Well, in this case, there's the Heatran. So I'm going to guess either Lapse in Judgment or that it was specifically for Blissey for some reason.
It was probably for Blissey.
Like, he's probably like Nasty Plot with Focus Blast,
Dark Pulse and Psyshock.
Yeah.
It was both. So.
And again, if you're a Focus Blast,
why didn't you just Focus Blast the thing either? Anyway, so Zamazenta then set up the Iron Defense and killed Moltres and Garganacl. Then Dougie just forfeited after.
Why did he Terra his Darkrai when he did?
What turn?
26.
You know what? I don't know.
Yeah, so I was thinking when rewatching this, maybe he Terra'd it so he could absorb the toxic spikes later, but then he let it die.
He did. He didn't, maybe he was expecting a bulk up or something. I don't know.
Also, if it's Terra poison, is he not running Sludge Bomb?
Yeah.
I would think usually Terra poison should indicate you're running Sludge Bomb, but
apparently
it's
not.
Just good to block Berry, but I don't know. What's he running? What's that full set? I wonder.
What, the Darkrai?
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know that fourth move. But yeah, it probably is Nasty Plot.
But yeah, the Terra ended up being completely pointless.
Unfortunately, it probably was Sludge Bomb or Nasty Plot, who knows. But yeah, Batty won. Not surprising. Let's move on now to...
Dang, no other thoughts for me, huh?
Oh, you were saying something?
No, it's just you usually ask any other thoughts.
Well, do you have any other thoughts then?
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
I liked Batty's team because it had a lot of synergy with like all of his lefties mons plus grassy terrain. His team kept healing so much.
It's very preservative of HP.
It had more longevity.
Yes. The perseverance is running wild. Alright, let's move on now to OU Crying versus Stereo, which never happened. And hey.
Hooray!
Less games to talk about. UU 691 versus Xlolo. 691?
I remember this game. Bricks were happening left, right, and center.
Yes, this was the crit heavy game. So, Deoxys set up the screens, allowing Slitherwing to tear off fire and kill the Tornadus on turn 5, using that flame charge.
Not gonna lie, I was scared 691 would lose right then and there from that Slitherwing.
It was a very dangerous Slitherwing. And but Slowking then Terra-Fairied and burned Thunderous, who set up Nasty Plot and critted the 691's own Thunderous on turn 8, crit killing it. Before dying to Ogerpon, who then crit kills Deoxys on turn 10 through Reflect.
Well, crit ignores Reflect.
Yes, I know. Then we saw 691's Ogerpon then dies to a crit Oko Ivy Cudgel from Axlolo's Ogerpon. Slowking survived to kill the Ogerpon, sacking Excadrill to a crit Oko Flame Charge. Seriously, take a shot for every time I say crit. On turn 14.
You'd be very drunk.
The Slowking then paralyzed after surviving a crit Earthquake from Cobalion. Or...
What?
Not Cobalion. That would be really funny if it's Cobalion. Cobalion thing. It died to the crit Earthquake on turn 17. Then Cobalion came in, set up the Iron Defense, which, funnily enough, didn't crit at one point. Winning for 691.
Yep. Must say, this battle was a very poetic ending.
Oh yeah, because this was the last game of the Jirachis versus Goros, and Jirachi dying to a Cobalion.
Jirachi being the last mon, its name being Make-A-Wish, and then it gets one shot, which M691 wins the battle.
Make-A-Wish! The Jirachis ultimately faltered. Alright, next up is RU. Some people were just born lucky. Eevee versus high naming is hard.
Eevee didn't even get lucky. High naming just went stupid for a minute.
And it cost him. That one brief hesitation cost him. So,
No, it wasn't that he hesitated. It was that he didn't hesitate.
So,
you need to think.
So, we saw Volcanion defeat the Slitherwing on turn 8 with a nasty Earth Power attempt. Steam Eruption attempt. And then Terra Grounded to do the Earth Power damage to Raikou. Well, Noivern killed Mew, while Raikou paralyzed the Jirachi before losing to its Body Slam on turn 15. As Porygon Z critted the Bisharp on turn 17 before losing the Crocodile. Then we saw Armarouge beating the Crocodile with an Armor Cannon on turn 25. But then it got dumb after the fact, because after activating the weakness policy Armarouge, he then OHKO'd the Volcanion, crit OHKO, not crit OHKO'd, it just straight up OHKO'd in return, and our naming forfeited. Yeah, he activated the weakness policy for Eevee to fully sweep his own team.
Yeah, it could have been avoided if he just, sent something in that doesn't have moves that either that or just, flamethrower.
Just flamethrowered it to finish it off or something. Come on.
Yeah.
Doing anything, avoid the weakness policy.
He remembered the weakness policy when he gun-shotted the Armarouge, but he didn't remember it after that.
Oh, well. It was a minor mistake. It was a minor hurdle. Because high naming was on the winning team after all.
Amazingly, this is how the Jirachis got one of their only 2 wins this week.
With some other
I think that should say a lot for how badly they got bodied.
So, next up, the next 2 matches didn't happen. Django versus Enzo Nana and Suzuka versus Black Knight Gawain. So let's move on to LC, where we saw
I saw one of my teammates say they think Black Knight Gawain was going to win.
Interesting. So...
yeah, I don't know where that came from.
LC, Arcanine 1929 defeating Sin. So...
yes.
This funny game. This is a funny game. So, Mudbray set up rocks before Grookey took it out on turn 3. Then, Fungus put it to sleep, and then it used Sleep Talk to chip the Chinchou, as Vullaby Grookey defeated Grookey on turn 11. But I must point out, Sleep Talk Minfu?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like, I get trying to, counteract the Fungus Spore strat, but, that's an insane bring.
It's an interesting bring, but I guess it eliminates the fear of switching Minfu in on a Fungus, hard.
Yeah, well, it got out of there, got the hell out of Dodge, and got U-turned out of there, so hey, props to him, I guess. So we saw the Minfu take out Mudbray, and Diglett took out Glimmet on turn 20. Then, after Vullaby died, we saw Diglett kill the Marini, as Torchic killed it in return, while Fungus Terra Ghosted on turn 27, killing said Torchic, as Sen's Minfu missed Arcanine's Minfu with the high jump kick, winning Arcanine this game. It all came down to Minfu hitting the high jump kick. And it didn't.
Yep.
Poor Sen. He got locked.
Although one thing I was a little confused about regarding how Sen played was that Toxic Spike was up, didn't bother to remove it, and instead let his Minfu and Chinchou get poisoned, despite having Fungus.
He wanted to bring it in. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know why they didn't switch into Fungus sooner.
I mean, I guess he didn't want Eviolite to get knocked, but you can just switch out. I mean, your own Minfu has its Eviolite knocked already, I'm pretty sure, so you can just bait it.
Yeah, which is kind of funny. Alright, next up we have Monotype. Memphis Depay defeating Jojen. Was this in any way surprising?
No, but I like the game.
I do like the game too. It was fighting versus dragon. Geomancy brought out some weird choices. A Gallade and a Chestnut.
Gallade's not that weird.
Gallade was fine, but the Chestnut? Okay.
Chestnut's kinda interesting, but it is a good physical wall.
When you're not fighting a Latios, I guess.
Yes, you see, it's not meant to fight a Latios.
So, Gallade first took out the Roaring Moon via the Sacred Sword on turn 3, which was a good catch for Geomancy.
I guess the switch was obvious, yeah. Either he was gonna knock or Shadow Sneak or whatever the hell he had. So Memphis switches in the Roaring Moon. Figures they'll take whatever it's about to do.
But
yeah, it was a good call.
can't take the sacred sword. But, Chestnut was then sacked to Dragapult's Draco Meteor, while Latios killed Iron Hands on turn 11.
Dang, you didn't. You missed the part where Memphis made a good play, and after killing the Chestnut, Gallade came out again. He stayed in with his Dragapult, and what do you know? Jojen Sacred Sworded again.
Oh, he was.
But this time it didn't work.
Oh, he was predicting the Sacred Sword attempt.
Yeah, he was thinking Jojen would probably call it if he went into like Archaludon.
Oof, which would have been a very risky play, but kudos to Memphis to foresee that. Latios then killed Iron Hands on turn 11. Then we saw Goodra die to Iron Valiant, while Urshifu was sacked to Latios as Great Tusk tanked Komo's attacks before dying to the clanging scales, on turn 18.
Yeah.
Then after Iron Valiant killed the Komo, we saw Archaludon killed it in return, body pressing Gallade at the end for Memphis to win. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, it just outsped it, so it just pressed and killed it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget how fast Archaludon is.
295 speed, don't count. Next up we have one of the games that I said was gonna decide this series, but this ended up being a body fest, so my statement was proven wrong. 5'5" versus Servolt Mike.
I wouldn't say this was a body fest, but this.
The series was.
Yeah, yeah, the series, yes, but this game, not so much.
Yeah, the game, not so much.
This was a tight game, and frankly, I think Servolt Mike made a couple misplays, but other than that, I think 5'5" played this really well. I remember watching this live. You were doubting he would come back.
I was.
I'm like, I don't know what you're on. This is still very winnable. Just needs to get some turns right.
So Spectrier
still has the Spectrier, and you're like, what's the Spectrier gonna do? That's what it's gonna do.
So Spectrier Terrafaried. I was very hesitant on the matchup as well. So Spectrier then Terrafaried, while Whimsicott used Fake Tears on Tornadus, who brought it down to Sash level to beat Whimsicott back with Bleak Windstorm.
Which means if the Tornadus wasn't Sash, it would be dead.
It would have been dead. It did Fake Tears, so yeah. So Incineroar knocked off Goldango's item on turn 3, who lost its item via trick and killed Tornadus before losing.
Yeah, it tricked the Incineroar and stole its Citrus Berry and healed.
Which was very interesting. Very interesting turn.
It was funny.
Then Ogerpon then protected, leaving Iron Hands to kill Mike's Iron Hands, while Ogerpon died to Terra Dragon Goldango on turn 10. So I was scared. I was scared of the fact that in this position right here, we saw the Landorus and the Goldango against Iron Hands, Spectrier, and the Landorus in the back. I thought, Mike had a really good position here, was gonna make it rain and kill the Spectrier. But, fortunately, Landorus lost to Spectrier, who then killed Goldango, leaving Sinistra to just Trick Room and burn Iron Hands, who, funnily enough, killed the Incineroar, while Spectrier finished off Sinistra at the end for 5'5" to win. It was all in the matchup and the horse. Mostly the horse.
I was a little confused by how Sir Voltmike played some of his endgame turns.
Really? What do you mean?
I guess maybe he wanted to save Sinistra, but why didn't he Rage Powder and make it rain to guarantee Spectrier dies?
I don't know, actually. Would have been a much safer turn there.
And then Goldengo would still be alive, and then Incineroar would probably come in, fake out the Landorus, or well, actually, I don't know. But like, point is, I think that was a bit better of a situation to be in.
Yep. Would have been a much cleaner situation to be in.
And if the Sinistra just happened to survive somehow, which maybe it could have if it was a Draining Kiss, since Draining Kiss is a weak move.
Yes.
Then he would have another turn to use Follow Me, and he'd probably just win.
Yep. Which would have benefited him a lot. So, well done, 5'5", for absolutely clutching that. Next up, we have Ranbats. JJ09 Lee beating Losco no Shuto. So, game 1, we started off with Breloom putting Hariyama to sleep. Then, paralyzed by the Pachirisu in return on turn 8, before being killed by Sandslash, while Swanna died to its own Brave Bird. And
every time Pachirisu came in, I was like, haha, free para.
Yeah, it was fast enough and it was bulky enough. Pachirisu then came back in to paralyze the Vespiquen on not Rue 20, but turn 20. Don't know why I said Rue here. Then we saw Excadrill flinch the Porygon 2 on turn 24. Set up Rapid Spin to outspeed and sweep pretty much everything else. Because Rock Slide was doing a lot, Earthquake, and then Venomoth dies, and Zoroark died. So, JJ won.
Yeah, I was like, when I saw the Vespiquen come in, I'm like, oh no, that thing's gonna start setting some despicable hazards, and then Excadrill immediately comes in after. I'm like, and they're about to immediately get spun away. I see.
Their Excadrill is just a very, very good wall.
That too, but also a hazard remover.
Which
that
means
happens to hit very hard.
Which means blah. So goodbye to your Toxic Spikes and Spikes attempts, rendering those useless. Alright, next up we have Game 2. Cloth died to Alola Persian on turn 5 as Frostlass burned the Dunsparce in return after hazards were set. Dunsparce, not the Dunsparce.
Yeah, that's just a Dunsparce.
So Rayquaza turn normal on turn 20 to beat the Vigoroth, which was giving Losco problems, while Barraskewda survived Alola Persian's Thunderbolt to kill it. Then Barraskewda defeated Meloetta on turn 27 with a crit close combat. Before dying...
Not that mattered.
Before dying to Rayquaza, who was killed by Frostlass, who Terra Ghosted to beat Excadrill in the end for JJ to win.
I remember you thought it was over.
It was over for who?
You thought it was over for JJ.
Ah, yeah. Because Losco came in and said, you know what? I lost to Excadrill last time. Let me just roll my own Excadrill. But nope. JJ had other plans, and Terra ghosted.
Yeah, you thought the game was 100% Losco's, and I'm just here thinking, no, JJ can very much still win.
Rayquaza, you did roll.
But like this is still very winnable.
He did roll a Rayquaza, okay? So
with presumably banned and
E-Speed, Terra Normal
yeah.
E-Speed. It was doing a lot.
Frostlass doesn't care about that.
Yeah, Frostlass doesn't care. It just beats it, and the next
you were underestimating the power of Barraskewda plus Frostlass, and I'm like, I don't know. He might just win with those.
Barraskewda.
And he did.
Good job, JJ, I guess, for tanking. Alright. Last but not...
I got scared when Thunderbolt was used on the Barraskewda because I thought he was about to lose if that killed, but it didn't kill!
Yeah, it survived pretty haphazardly. Alright. Final game. We have National Dex. Adrian versus Longest Banana. So, both set up rocks, while Gliscor poisoned Landorus on turn 9, then survived the Terrapagos' Ice Beam to toxic it before dying to Terra Starstorm. Then we saw Terrapagos Wars happen until Longest Bananas died to poison on turn 18.
I have to say, it's interesting that Adrian's running Volt Switch, Calm Mind, Raging Bolts.
It's interesting. It's a very interesting.
It's interesting because it's a Calm Mind Raging Bolt without Thunderbolt.
Yep, it's really weird. Then we saw the DNC activating Kingambit's Defiant, not Supreme Overlord. It's actually Defiant, losing to its...
Yeah, okay, that raises my curiosity, because obviously in normal OU, all the Kingambits are running Supreme Overlord. We don't usually see Kingambit used much in Nat decks, not nearly as much anyway. So I have to wonder, is Defiant normal here for Kingambit? Or was that a niche bring?
Probably could have been a niche bring because, you know...
I don't know. I don't play Nat decks. You don't play Nat decks.
No one plays Nat decks apart from these two. So...
Longest Banana doesn't play Nat decks.
Oh, that's right. He did mention that he's never played a game of Nat decks in his life.
That's not what he said. He just said he doesn't play it.
Oh. Well... It died, the DNC died to its Arnad after critting it with Earth Power, which was funny. Then, died...
I find it funny that DNC never got to Mega.
He didn't. Killed the Alamomola for Kyurem, survived the Sucker Punch to kill it with Earth Power. Then Raging Bolt killed the Goldango on turn 31 via the Volt Switch, even though it did use Draco Meteor and Thunderclap. Then Urshifu just killed Kyurem at the end for Adrian to win.
Kingambit went absolutely insane in this matchup.
Probably wants to shut up in usage, I guess.
Or it just absolutely went insane in this matchup?
You know, it just wants to up itself. Kingambit's a good
Or
bring.
it was just really good in this matchup. I don't know. I don't see why what you're saying is relevant.
Anyway, it was very good. It was very relevant. And, you know, Kingambit hopefully could be used more at some point.
I don't know. We don't know how much it's used. We haven't really seen it much in these NatX games, but
surprisingly enough.
I doubt it's terrible in NatX or anything.
Shouldn't be terrible. Anyway, that decided it, and that led the Goros to victory. Literally.
Well, this was not the game that decided it, but yeah.
It was one of the many factors that decided it in order to win and progress the Pangoros to finals to face the Doughboys,
who are probably going to lose.
Even though the Fidos technically have a type matchup advantage over the Goros.
Well, LCmon versus Fully Evolved.
A player rough can easily kill the Fangoro, okay? Player rough from a Fido.
No one said they're the same level.
Well, we'll see. Anyway, speaking of same leveling, who one predicts?
Well, take a wild guess.
Drumroll, please.
I did, of course.
Was it ever in any doubt?
Nope, because on all the ones we disagreed on, I kept getting them right.
Son of a bitch. How much did you get?
Well, I predicted JJ correctly. You predicted Losco. I predicted Batty correctly. You predicted Doug Trio. I don't think we really.
I just wanted a closer series. I just wanted a closer series between the Jirachis and the Goros. Didn't expect the bodying to take place.
I did. I literally predicted that the Goros win 10-2. Obviously, I knew that wouldn't happen because they're not getting to 10 wins before the Jirachis just throw in the towel.
And they did.
Like, obviously, once they get to 7, they're just dead gaming the rest.
And somehow it did. It was down to the exact 2 wins. Well, not the exact 2 wins, but you did correctly predict that they would get to 2 wins.
Yeah, not the 2 I predicted, but yes.
So how many did you get overall?
Well, I only got to predict for 12 games, only 9 of those happened. So, my score is 6 out of 9.
6-9! 2/3. 66.67%.
Whereas you predicted 21 games and only got 7 right.
I got 1/3 of the total predicts right.
Yeah, that's because our series messed you up, like, in an insane amount.
Somehow, your loss was not my gain in terms of predicts.
Well, yeah, because you predicted we'd win.
Yes. Closely, but, it was a close series. But somehow still got 33.3%. Wow.
Yeah, the pick did better than you.
Which is funny. How much did pick predict?
It got 10 out of 21. About 48%.
When I did worse than the pick. Alright. So, we're all on even ground, though. Because we all...
Yep. For the first time, we're all predicting the same matches.
The same number of matches, because you're finally out, and that custom trophy, you were never gonna get. Dude, how many BLTs have you just faltered in the semifinals, and then, is that how many times?
It can't be helped when you keep losing to bullshit.
Well, that's how many years now that you've faltered at the semis. I don't think you've ever made finals, do you? In BLT?
You don't have to rub it in.
I just want to bring up the statistic, okay? Anyway, let's move on now to the finals matchups. The Pangoros versus the Fido boys. Who will win? The Jordy team?
By the way, you want to hear my thoughts on something?
What?
I think the proper power rankings for the teams that made playoffs are the Pangoros, the Rufflets, the Fidos, and the Jirachis. Which is exactly how the standings went. But I think it's an accurate representation of strongest to weakest in terms of who made playoffs. The Pangoros are very strong, undoubtedly.
Yep. Well,
and I think the Rufflets are still pretty clearly stronger than the Fidos because, like, Piyush is better than Dunox, Maverick is better than Stories. They both lost, but, like, they're still better.
And you lost the bullshit. And, yeah. So...
And a lot of the others are either even or, like, somewhat favored between us and them. It is close between our two teams, but, like, I think we're a bit stronger between our OU and... well, I guess when our OU is, like, at its peak, at least. But between Chico's and Mav, I think we were a bit stronger than Tenebrosite and Stories.
Okay, fair assessment, I guess.
Piyush is obviously better than Dunox.
Just gotta rub it in one more time. Alright, so... Anyway, this is a rematch 2 years ago, apparently, according to Fragments. The Jordy team versus the Fragments team. The Jordy team versus Fragments team from before was semifinals, so now they're meeting once again in finals. So it's an interesting development how these two teams have come. The Goros have been dominating all season. The Fidos have had a little bit of a little bit of effort pulled
to come back.
Yeah, there's a little bit
of come back to get here.
Yeah, they had to put in a little bit of effort, but they did manage to pull it in and make finals. So it's gonna be an interesting finals, to say the least. And
the comeback over the season was impressive, to say the least.
It was very impressive. The week 7 definitely mattered for Doughboys. So, no games have been played. So, our first game...
Not yet, anyway. I think first game is in about 13-ish hours. Then there's another game 15 hours after that.
Which is, understandable. Now I can watch these games in peace. So, alright. Let's review now. Let's predict who would win between the Goros and the Dobies. First off, we have Ubers. Vidiot versus Ainsgrad.
Vidiot.
The last time we saw the Goros and the Fidos, this was a clobber. 9-3 in favor of the Goros. So...
Although, this particular matchup is not a rematch from last time, as Crying was in the Uber slot last time.
But she has beaten Ainsgrad, right?
She did.
So it's Vidiot versus Ainsgrad this time, and yeah, I agree. Even though it is a lineup change from the last time they fought, I still think Vidiot is better than Ainsgrad. Sorry, Boyne, but, with the power of Crying support, I think Vidiot wins.
I think Vidiot wins too, although my reasons aren't necessarily because he's better.
What do you think?
Although I don't know if I should say why.
You can tell me after, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
So, you're going with video 2. What does pick say?
The pick says Ainscrad.
So it believes in Boyne. Oh,
And just to
you.
clarify, the reason I'm not saying is because I don't want to tip either team off on how to go about this.
Yeah, don't. No, let's not be a double agent here. Let's not help either team out in terms of these. So, OU. Crying versus Tenebrosite.
Crying.
Unfortunately, Tenebrosite has had shown weakness, and the last time he's fought it was against Chico's. And while he didn't do too bad, he did still lose, which isn't a good look on him. But I can still believe in Tenebrosite, but I think I'm going Crying.
Me too.
And what does pick say?
The pick says Crying as well.
We're all crying for Crying. Oh, you. Baddie versus Stories.
Daddy.
Yeah. After last week, I don't know. Baddie
It's clear enough that Stories did not win by being better.
Yeah, and Baddie also looked stronger in his game versus Dougie, so yeah.
Baddie played that pretty well.
So yeah, I think this is a Baddie win.
Yep.
And what does pick say?
It says Baddie.
Everyone's bad for Baddie.
Okay, you didn't need to say that.
We're all down bad for Baddie. Alright,
You're making it worse.
you. 691 versus Dunox. Do you believe in the power of hacks again?
No, I always predict for the better player.
And it's clearly Dunox, according to you. Now, 691. I'm
691.
We're going with 691 here. He is proven to be a very, very capable UU player, and he has shown himself here in a great run for the Pangoros. What does pick say?
It says 691.
We're all 691 for 69. Okay, that sounds weird out of context. So let's move on now. Let's move on to the RU game. High naming is hard versus Esteban.
Ooh, highlight, to be honest.
It could.
I mean, every match is basically a highlight here, but I feel like this is gonna be a close one.
I feel like this was one of the games that will decide this series.
Really? Because I don't.
Really? Do you really?
Because I don't think it'll be that close to a point where
that'll
Uber decide it.
Maybe Ubers will decide it. Maybe OU will decide. Either one of the two OUs will decide it. But yeah, RU is definitely a close one. I think still is one of the things that could swing the tide for either two. Also, it says RU versus I naming is hard versus Esteban. It's a 3-way face-off, apparently.
RU? Dang, who's that?
Who's that? Who's the rarely used here?
Is it Joel?
He is RU. RU is him.
I mean, he played high naming on that alt of his. RU's Ace, it was called.
Wow. Okay. So it's a 3-way face-off. Who are you gonna pick? I pick for RU. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know. I think that's a pretty good predict.
I mean, it wins. It is basically the tier. But out of the two that are actually human, who are you picking?
I'm picking high naming, but I'm gonna need him to lock in and not be goofy.
I don't know, man. After last week's game, I think I'm going Esteban.
I mean, that's fair. That is pretty fair.
He locked in. Eternal Ocean did locked in. And he beat Arsenine very handily. So I think
yeah, but can he beat High Naming if High Naming is locked in?
I think he can.
I don't know about that.
I think he can. He's proven himself.
Do you happen to think Esteban can beat a locked in Arsenine?
No. That's why I picked...
Then you're basically saying you don't think he can beat a locked-in High Naming as hard either.
Well, I still think I think he's still gonna lock in and do his best.
Probably, but what if High Naming is locked in? What then?
It's gonna be a fun game to watch. Alright, what does Pick say?
It says Esteban.
See? It agrees. It believes. NU. Django versus Shengineer. Sorry, Django, but yeah, this might be the Goros' weakest slot. IMO. Yeah, Shengineer's gonna win.
Yeah, not gonna lie, all of the Goros slots are pretty strong. NU is pretty much their weakest slot.
It's the exception.
Django's negative. He has the worst record on his team.
Yeah, NU has not been very kind to the Goros. I think this is the exception of them having pretty much every slot covered except for one, and NU is the one.
And I mean, it's not as though they don't even have it covered. They have an NU main there. It's just, there's numerous better NU players in the pool,
and
better players.
And he's facing the top NU player in this pool. Come on now.
Well, there's actually 2 top players now.
Well, depending if he wins or loses. If he wins, he confirms the top spot. If he loses, then he's just tied with Acid. Alright.
Tempting to root against Engineer just for the fact that I want Acid to stay the top NU player here.
Well, expect a lot of hacks then. And now that I say that, it will probably happen. Yeah, and now that I say that, it'll probably happen. Shengineer to win, though.
Shengineer to win.
Who does Pick say?
Django.
It believes, and it believes in the power. Alright, PU. Suzuka versus Zuzuwawa.
Suzuka.
Yep, I don't disagree with you there. Suzuka the better player.
Yeah.
Who does Pick say?
Pick says Suzuka.
Everyone's going for Suzuka. LC. Sin 344 UU versus Taking Notes, kinda.
So apparently Sen is in the finals of LC Ladder Tour?
That's interesting, and that's good for him. Get that LC momentum, carry it over to here.
Beat Elfuson.
You beat Elfuson? That's a big boy. That's a big boy strat. That's a big boy move. Alright.
So I'm going Sen, but obviously I wouldn't be surprised at all if Taking Notes kinda wins it, because, his LC support is probably decent.
He has the fragment support.
Well, it's LC.
He has the fragment support, so he definitely can, benefit from the help and the tutoring. But yeah, I'm also going Sen. He's been, a bit better than Taking Notes kinda in these games.
Sen's actually doing well.
What's his record?
Sen's actually doing pretty well, I think.
What's his record?
His record is... Oh. Okay, not as well as I first thought. Let's see, one there. Lost 3 times, beat Loki Fan.
Lost to Arcanine. You lost to Arcanine?
Yeah. So he's actually 3-4. Not as well as I thought.
But he's still gonna win, I think. He's gonna bring that to a neutral.
He'd probably be he'd be 4-3 if that high jump kick hit.
Yeah, which is painful, but I still go for Sen. Does Pick agree?
Yeah. pick does not agree.
It believes it wants to take notes, kinda. Alright,
Again, I really wouldn't be surprised if taking notes kind of wins this.
Monotype is next, and we have Memphis Depay versus Royal Reloaded.
Memphis Depay.
I mean, is that even a question?
He's just the better player, I think.
He's one of the best players I think I've seen in Monotype. Probably has the best record, unironically.
He played, I don't know about that, but he played last week really well.
Oh, let me
see what Memphis's record is.
Oh, he's been playing. Oh, PokeArt. That's just not the only game he played well. I think I beg to argue, like, every week he has played very well.
Okay, he's 5'3". Last time he faced Royal Reloaded, he won.
Oh, and is that a confirmation?
I guess he's technically 4'3" in art. I guess he's technically 4'3" in mono though.
Because the one game he played was.
There was one game he played There was one game he played in RU.
But even that he won.
Yes.
Memphis to win.
I wonder who the best mono I wonder what the best mono record is. Let's see. Out of curiosity. I guess Royal has the best record in mono?
What? Are you serious?
5'3" in mono. That's apparently the best record.
That's surprising. I didn't think he would win a lot. I thought his record was like neutral. Okay, I mean, yeah, I'd still go in Memphis. Comparing their skill, I think it's Memphis.
Yep. Memphis played last week very well, so I don't think I have any questions.
And what does Pick say?
It says Memphis Depay.
We're all going for Memphis. We're all going to Memphis. Doubles OU. 5'5" or Sea Life.
Now this is gonna be close.
This one is also one of the deciders of this week, I think. This one's very, very close. I like the doubles pool this year. It's very, very even.
Well, for the teams that were in contention, anyway.
Yeah, like 5'5". Well, we got strong ass players. I got 5'5", Revolt Mike, Luisin, Sea Life. Like, we have some very strong doubles players. Like, doubles is a very good team to tier to watch this year. Alright, so who are we picking?
Who are you picking? This could really go either way.
I'm picking 5'5".
Oh, okay, me too.
Yeah, okay, so we're all in agreement here.
But I really wouldn't be surprised if Sea Life...
Did they face each other last time? Who won last time? I think it was 5'5".
5'5" won.
Yeah, I think it was 5'5", actually.
Let's see.
I mean, he never lost until... he never lost until the Revolt Mike game.
5'5" has the best record on his team. Holy crap.
Oh, he's winning. He's winning.
Yeah, he beat Sea Life last time.
So 5'5" to win.
Apparently they face each other a fair bit.
Oh, a lot? But
yeah.
Spotlight that in regionals, in a future regionals at one point, huh?
No one said they play VGC.
Well, they could probably transition it well.
5'5" plays VGC. I don't know about Sea Life.
They could probably transition well to VGC. Sea Life can.
But what if he doesn't want to?
It's all for preference. Now what does Pick say?
Pick says 5'5".
So we're all 5'5" here. So, Ranbat, JJ versus Lechen.
JJ.
Yup. JJ09 lead a win.
Yeah, if last week wasn't any indicator of how good JJ is. Well,
he's a locked-in JJ. He wanted to beat Losco after the last time they fought, so yeah. JJ won the rematch, and now he's facing Lechen, and yeah, I think JJ's gonna win this one.
Yep.
Who is Pixie?
The pick says JJ.
We're all JJ, and National Dex. Probably one of the best tiers we've seen in this iteration of BLT, at least. There's a lot of good matchups, and this one's no exception. Adrian versus Silu.
I do feel like this could probably go either way. These two are buddies, I believe.
And they're good players. They're very good players.
Now let me see something. Adrian, he lost to Silu last time they faced.
Mm-hmm. And Silu's record is...
It's probably very good.
It's
6-1.
6-1. Wow, these are two very good... Yeah, these two are very good records.
Wait. 7-1, I think.
Yeah, these two have very good records. I mean...
yeah, he has the best record on his team.
So,
it says 6-1, but I guess the sheet isn't updated to have Tempo and Silu's match.
Rematch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, again... The National Dex is one of the best tiers that we've ever showcased here in this iteration of BLT. We've had strong...
I wouldn't say that, but
we've had...
It's been good.
We've had Adrian, we have Silu, we have Tempo, we have Rahul, who was cleaning house the first 3 weeks. So, yeah, I love NatDex. I love seeing the NatDex games. This is another one that I'm really looking forward to. Who are you picking?
Silu.
I'm picking Adrian. I'm picking an upset. I'm picking an upset here.
Damn, you're even more pro Pangoro than I am regarding predictions.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both know who's going to win.
Well, now that you're saying it, they're gonna get hacked to all hell.
Hell yeah, I'm expecting a close series between these two. They better not be a bodying like last time. So yeah, I expect an actual close series between the Doughboys and the Pangoros. I do not want to see a bodying.
Funny you say that you expect a close series. Your predicts don't seem to indicate that.
I know, right? But there are some matchups where I was...
seem to be predicting a 10-2.
I'm the one predicting a 10-2 this time.
Yes, even I'm not.
I'm
not predicting that.
What, you're predicting what? 9-3?
1, 2. Oh. Wait, no, I am predicting a 10-2.
Ah! We're both in agreement. Okay.
Just on different matches.
I know, but we're both picking the Goros to body the Doughboys, which please don't. We actually want a close series to wrap up this shitty BLT, so Look,
man, the Pangoros are crazy strong.
Yeah,
I mean,
they are very strong.
When we faced them in, week 6, I don't think they were really trying very much, and we could only tie.
Yeah, that's the best you can do, really, against the Pangoros. You cannot beat them. Well, the Doughboys really gotta try hard. They gotta lock in numerous tiers. I mean, some of the matchups here are pretty much undecided as well. I mean, the Ubers game could go either way.
The matchups are very winnable. I think Gaines Crag could definitely beat Vidiot.
Tenebraside.
Esteban could definitely beat High Naming.
Tenebraside can beat Crime.
Taking Kinda could definitely beat Sen. Sea Life could definitely beat 5-5.
Silu can beat Adrian.
Well, I think he's favored here.
And Tenebricite, I think, can beat Crying if he's locked in enough. If he's locked in enough.
I think he needs a good matchup, too.
If he's locked in enough. And also, speaking of matchup, Royal Reloaded over Memphis Depay.
I think you need a good matchup, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Speaking of good matchup, I think Royal Reloaded should be able to get one over Memphis if he needs to win.
How do you know that?
It's Monotype.
And you're predicting Royal Reloaded, who has apparently famously not listened to Fragment's advice regarding the good type to bring. You think he'll get a good matchup?
We'll see about that. But, hey, that's all for the coming days. Thank you guys so much for watching. Tune in next week where we'll do one final recap video. I haven't really done awards, so we're probably not going to do awards this year because I just don't have the energy to. So, but, enjoy the last remaining vestiges of what BLT 12 has to offer. And I really want to skip next year. Just kidding. It really just depends. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe. Click that notification bell so you won't miss a video once it comes out. See you next week for the finale, and the crowning of a champion awaits us in the next week. Anyway.
Yep. By the way, I'm betting this series will actually be a bit closer than it looks on paper, like you said.
Yep.
But I still think the Pangrowers are favored.
Me too. But thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Miko, signing out.